Hello folks, Dick Fairburn here. I thought over the next several videos I would kind of run down the list of self-defense handgun calibers. And new shooters are kind of confused on where they need to get into this mix. Is a 380 enough? Is a 45 too much? And you know, even those of us who have used these kind of calibers for a long time, not a bad idea to kind of review, refresh, and see what's up to date in some of these calibers. So I generally recommend that people who do concealed carry look at a 380 as a minimum caliber and go up from there, up to perhaps as big as a 45 auto. For police duty use, I go a step further. I don't think the 380 will cut it as a duty pistol, although it makes a really good backup gun. So for cops or the military, I think minimum is 9mm. We can go up to 45. The 10mm in some loads is more powerful than a 45. Do we need that kind of power? Let's talk about these as we go along. I'm going to start with the 380. If you want to hear what I have to say about it, stick around. As I just said, I consider the 380 to be the kind of power floor for self-defense handgun calibers. If you're a concealed carry holder, I think you should look at a 380 or larger. If you can carry a larger pistol, if you can handle a larger caliber, probably a better choice. 380s make really good backup guns for cops, but I really think police officers in the military should start at the 9mm and go up from there because, and this is just my opinion, they're the ones more likely to encounter truly crazed individuals who are the most immune to pistol bullets. So the 380 is the minimal. The smallest, lightest pistol suitable for concealed carry, often chambered the 380 ACP. Here's a couple examples. This is my 380 that when I have need for one, we'll show you that it's open and safe. This is the Smith & Wesson Bodyguard, which is kind of cool because it has a built-in laser. So that helps you for nighttime use. This is a little bit different type of trigger action as well. This is actually a double action only trigger. There is a hammer that you can see working in there. And once again, it's empty. But this has a longer, heavier stroke than most striker fired guns like a Glock. But in my opinion, it can help you do a little bit better shooting. Maybe that's because I grew up with a double action revolver. You can't necessarily fire it as fast as you can a striker fired pistol, but you can certainly fire it fast enough. Here's another example. This is my wife's pretty much everyday carry pistol. This is the Glock 42 380. She also has the 43 when she thinks that her mode of dress will handle a little bit bigger pistol. This has, of course, the striker fired action. And this is stock. This is just the way it came out of the box with the plastic Glock sights and everything else. It's ready to go. Typically, the only time I carry a 380 is when I'm wearing dress trousers or something like that, because I normally pocket carry a little 9mm, and dress trousers don't lend themselves well to, you know, a pound or more of pistol hanging in that pocket. So if I'm wearing a jacket with a good belt, I will generally carry an outside the waistband full-size pistol. But I'll put this little 380 on my ankle as a backup gun. If I'm going to a wedding or something like that and I don't expect a problem, then maybe just the 380 will get me by. Now, not too awfully long ago, a very good friend who I worked with in the Illinois State Police died rather unexpectedly. And a couple of us went up to his funeral, and he lived on the south side of Chicago, in the city. And this was a police funeral, and I kind of consider police funerals today to be a target-rich environment. There are so many people out there who don't like law enforcement anymore. If they really wanted to kill a lot of cops, police funerals make me nervous. So the 380 bodyguard was on my ankle as a backup, but I had a lightweight commander and an outside waist belt under my suit coat with a couple of spare magazines. And when he retired from the state police, he went to work for Metra, which is the commuter railway police in Chicago. He was the #2 guy at that agency. And apparently they were concerned about having a lot of uniformed cops around too, because they had a very, very heavy presence there. I don't think anyone would have tried to pull something stupid the night of that funeral. Okay, the 380 ACP is a John Browning design. Many of those straight case semi-automatic pistol cartridges, 380, the 45, the 38 Auto, the 38 Super, the 32 ACP, the 25 ACP when you get into the mouse guns. Those are all the designs of John Browning in the various little pistols that he designed to handle them. The 380 came out in the 1908 Colt Pocket semi-automatic pistol. Had an earlier one, I believe in 1903, that used the 32 Auto. And the bullet diameter is 355, the same as a 9mm Luger. So in terms of metric measurements, the 380 is a 9x17, whereas the 9mm Luger is a 9x19. The original 380 load fired a 90 grain round nose full metal jacket at about 1,000 feet per second, but of course that differs quite a lot by the barrel length. In the US, the 380, a lot of people think like me that this is probably the least that we should be using. But in Europe, especially World War II or pre-World War II, the 380 was almost a magnum from the way they looked at things. You know, to them the big gun was the 9mm. And during the war, a lot of the Mauser HSCs, PPKs that the German military and Gestapo used were a lot of times 32 ACP pistols. So they were comfortable with much smaller pistols there. The 380 is generally the largest round that you will see fitted in a blowback pistol. Blowback means that the barrel is not locked in place. The slide is simply held forward with spring pressure, and that means you need a heavier slide and a heavier spring to resist that rearward force. Most 380s nowadays are locked barrel systems. They use the same tilt barrel system that Browning designed in 1911. So they're capable of some hot loads. Now, there is no plus P loading under SAMI specs for the 380, but certainly some loads are a little bit hotter than others. A lot of people, when they think of 380, they think of the Walther PPK. That's the classic pistol of that caliber. In fact, if you remember James Bond, in Dr. No, the first James Bond movie, they forced him to give up his little Beretta 25, which he loved so much, for a Walther 32. And Q described the Walther PPK 7.65mm with a delivery like a brick through a plate glass window. So the smaller calibers were perfectly adequate for the people on the other side of the pond. To my recollection, the first modern jacketed hollow point load for a 380 came out in the early 70s in the original Supervel company. They were the ones that brought hollow points to most of the pistol cartridges here in the United States. They used Sierra jacketed hollow cavity or jacketed hollow point bullets, and they jazzed them up a bit to a little bit faster velocity than we were normally seeing out of any of the loads, 380, 9, 38s, or anything. Today there are many jacketed hollow point designs available for the 380. Most every major brand of ammunition has a couple of loads for it. And of course the full metal jacket load is still generally the least expensive, so probably your best choice for training with the 380. When these jacketed hollow points from the 380 are fired into modern ballistic testing, the 10% calibrated ballistics gel, the performance is what I would describe as marginal. The hollow points that give minimal expansion with the 380 will generally reach the 12-inch minimum penetration standard. But some of them, like the early Winchester Silvertip, which used a soft aluminum jacket, those loads will often expand very well in the gelatin. But when they do expand very well, they don't typically give very deep penetration. So the 380 is, I'm going to use the word marginal to describe it. If the hollow point expands well, you're not going to get the recommended minimum penetration level in most cases. If it doesn't expand particularly well, then you generally will get 12 inches or more of penetration. So seeing a 380 round that will both expand to 1.5 or more caliber size and give 12-inch penetration, I'm not sure I've seen one yet. There are some better than others. The all copper hollow points from Corbon and Barnes bullets are probably the best performance that I have seen. So in that respect, a full metal jacket 380 might not be all that bad a choice for duty, because if we're going to have to pick either penetration or expansion, then generally we want to pick penetration. We want to make sure we get in deep enough to get to vital organs. So there is an alternative. This is the Lehigh Defense bullet. I'll show you close-ups of these. They call it an FTM, Fluid Transfer Monolithic. It has flutes, and the purists in the wound ballistics community think this is a gimmick. They said it's basically a non-expanding, so a full metal jacket, and it's going to give you full metal jacket type performance. But when you see these things in the gelatin, they make a rather large temporary cavity, just like a hollow point does. Now the temporary cavity at pistol velocities does not contribute a lot to the wounding, but it penetrates as well as a full metal jacket. So if it penetrates like a full metal jacket, and it might give additional shock value because of these flutes, then this is probably a good way to go. And this is my personal recommendation for the 380. These are loaded by Lehigh Defense. They're loaded by Underwood ammunition, and this particular one is a Black Hills ammunition. They call their line of Lehigh bullets the Honey Badgers. There are several excellent, small, reliable pistols in the 380 caliber. In my experience, the Walther PPK is not one of them. I've had a couple of those over the years. I've shot others in both European-made and American-made versions. They are not 100% reliable, and there's something about the PPK that it just kind of lowers that slide down, and people with big, thick hands, a lot of times that slide will come back across and can cut you if you don't have a great grip on the pistol. So while the PPK is definitely one of the cooler looking pistols out there, I think, especially because of its relationship to James Bond, I don't particularly think the PPK is one of your best choices. So as I said, the 380 is not my first choice for self-defense caliber. It is my wife's first choice, and I think a 380 can do the job. If you're going to carry a 380, then I think you need to practice with it a lot. Get out on the range, get the full metal jacket ammunition. Unfortunately, 380 ammunition is more expensive than 9mm, even in the full metal jackets, simply because they don't load as much of it. The 9mm is probably the most loaded centerfire pistol round in the country, and so those prices get driven down by sheer volume. If you're going to practice with that 380, it's generally going to be a close range gun. You can work out to 15 yards with them, and I think you should become skilled out to 15 yards with them. But if you're going to be working up close, try to get good enough with that 380 that if need be, you can make a headshot. Headshots with any solid centerfire pistol cartridge are going to be pretty good stoppers. And the reason I say headshots with the 380 is it's a marginal performer. So if I can use one word to describe the 380, it is marginal. But it will do the job if you do the job and get center hits or headshots. So find the ammunition that you think is going to do the best job for you. Make sure it's going to function well through your pistol. Practice as much as you possibly can. And if you do your job, the 380 may just do its job. But if I can use that one adjective to describe it, I'm going to use the word marginal. Now the next in my list, as we move up through the defense handgun calibers, is a 9mm. What adjective do you think I will use to describe that? Okay, we got them both here now. You ready? Bud got one. Ginger got one. Oh, she missed it. She usually gets them, doesn't she, Bud? Okay, girl, last one. You ready? You ready? Yeah! That's all there is till next time.